Creating digital art is probably the most important or the most prominent way to create art in these days, and people ask me all the time on how I create my digital art, or what's my process, and what hardware do I use, what software do I use, how do I use Photoshop, why do I use this brush, why do I do what I do. And in this video I'm going to answer all your questions. So in order to properly do that, I will dissect this video into 3 parts. It's going to be the hardware, the software, and my process on how I do digital art. So let's get started. So let's start off with the hardware. So there are 3 types of hardware that you can use for creating digital art. First is the screen tablets, then we have pad tablets, and after that we have computer tablets like iPad and Android tablets. So let's start with the screen tablets first. So for screen tablets, obviously as the name suggests, they have a screen which acts like a second screen to your computer. Keep in mind, you do need to connect it to a computer. It's not an individual computer. It acts like a second screen. Usually they are very expensive and also probably the easiest to use in this whole list. And these are usually considered to be the industry standard. In any major company or working, let's say Disney or Pixar, you will have these kind of tablets, the screen tablets, to work with. And the major brands for screen tablets are Wacom, Huion, and XP Pen. Wacom is the most expensive but is also the highest quality. It is considered to be the highest quality, but it is debatable out of the 3. But Huion and XP Pen are a lot cheaper, but they offer the best bang for your buck. Next up, we have pad tablets. As the name suggests, you have a pad where you draw and you look at the screen, and everything that you draw on the pad appears on the screen. It's not as hard as it looks, but you do need a bit of practice to get used to it. Pad tablets are usually the cheapest among all the other kinds of tablets, and you can get one for as low as $50. And all the major brands are the same as I told before: Wacom, XP Pen, and Huion. And most of my work is done on a pad tablet. I have a Huion HS610, which is I believe which was $70 or $80 at the time of its release, and I've been using it for a really long time, more than a year or so. I am pretty comfortable with it, and this is the tablet that I use to make the speed paints that you see on my channel. Next up, we have computer tablets. These include iPads, Android tablets like Samsung Galaxy Tab, and very expensive options like Wacom Mobile Studio. Now I'm pretty sure most of you guys don't have a Wacom Mobile Studio, which starts at $3,500. Yeah, you heard me right. And if you do have the money, I still wouldn't recommend getting it. I'll tell you why later. But then we have Android tablets. Now if you're thinking of getting an Android tablet for drawing, I really don't recommend that either. First of all, it's very expensive, and second, it's not that great. Plus the software experience is lackluster, so cross Android tablets from your list. The only way I would recommend using an Android tablet is if you already have one with a stylus and everything. But just for the sake of mentioning, I would say if you are looking for Android tablets, look for Samsung Galaxy Tabs that support S Pen. But if you already own a Samsung Galaxy Tab and it didn't come with an S Pen, or it doesn't support one, I would honestly just recommend buying a pad tablet. And yeah, that's it, because it's not worth using your money to buy an off-brand stylus. So the last one for a computer tablet is the iPad. Now I know iPad can be expensive, but in my opinion, iPads offer the best drawing experience out of anything else that I mentioned before. You do have to keep in mind that only the current gen iPads support the Apple Pencil, so you'll have to look it up whether the iPad you're trying to buy is supporting Apple Pencil or not. But don't buy an iPad if it doesn't support the Apple Pencil. Like I said before, the off-brand styluses are nowhere compared to branded ones, especially the Apple Pencil. I think the Apple Pencil is one of the best styluses that you can get right now anywhere. So if you're looking for the cheapest iPad that you can use with Apple Pencil, It's gonna be the regular iPad that goes for $329 on Apple, and you can add another Apple Pencil, which is really important, for $100. So that totals it to $429. And I have iPad Air, which is a step up above the normal iPad that I showed you guys, and it costs way more. The iPad Air that I got was this one, and as you can see, it cost $500, plus I bought the Apple Pencil for another $100, so that was a total of $600. So iPads can be expensive, but they do offer one of the best drawing experiences you can find on the market right now. And I feel like 99% of my digital artwork can be done on an iPad, and if you have the money, I would just recommend you buy an iPad with an Apple Pencil, and that's it. Just as a side note, I would like to mention, if you are getting an iPad, I do not recommend getting a 32 gig version. Now, I know 32 gig can be enough for some people, but for most people, I think 64 gigs is at least the minimum requirement. Unless you are okay with moving all your art files and saving them to cloud or something, because the iPad I own has 64 gigs, and like I'm already halfway filled. So yeah, get a 64 gigs for a minimum. And if you can't afford an iPad, well, like I said, pad tablets, I have a pad tablet, they work pretty solid and they are good enough. So let's move on to the software part of the things. My personal favorite software is Photoshop. I use it for every speed paint pretty much that I make on YouTube, and it works very well for me, and I have been grown like used to it, and yeah, it's my personal favorite, as you probably know by now. If you want to buy Photoshop, you can, there are 2 or 3 plans that you can see. There's a photography plan, which is I think the best value. It's $10 per month. You'll get Photoshop and Lightroom. Lightroom, if you don't know, is like for color correction if you do photography. Otherwise, you can just use Photoshop for $10. If you want the whole Creative Cloud plan, you would need to pay $53 for every software that Adobe has. I'm really lucky that my college offers me a free subscription of the Creative Cloud plan, so I can pretty much use any Adobe software, and it's for free for college students. So yeah, I get to use Photoshop for free, but you guys would need at least the $10 plan or the $52 plan, whatever works for you. Otherwise, there is another option. It's the Clip Studio Paint. So there are multiple price points in Clip Studio Paint as well, but basically there's like 3 versions. There's a free version, which has very basic limited functionality. There's the Pro version, which I think is the best out of the 3 for artists at least, and you can pretty much do everything with the Clip Studio Paint Pro version. And if you need animation functionality as well, you can buy the Clip Studio Paint X. Now you might be thinking, yo Wacky, these are way too expensive products, I need something cheap, I need something free. So for you guys, I would recommend using Krita. I think it's the best free software for digital art out there, and it works pretty well. Unfortunately, for some reason, it doesn't work on my PC. I do have a pretty powerful PC, but for some reason Krita has issues on my computer, so I don't know about everyone else, but I couldn't find it on internet, so it's probably not a major issue. And a lot of people, I have seen a lot of my friends too, they work on Krita and it works very well for them. The other free options are Medibang and GIMP, so you can try those as well, but most of the functionalities of any art studio, any art software remains the same. So for you guys on iPad, there are quite a few recommendations. First of all, like the most obvious one is Procreate. Everyone uses Procreate, I use Procreate. If you still don't find Procreate that much more functional, you can try Clip Studio, which is pretty much the exact copy of the PC version of Clip Studio but on the iPad, so that's pretty solid. And if you need something that's free, I recommend Medibang. That works pretty good as well. So now let's move on to my process of how I work with Photoshop. Alright, so this is what the Photoshop is gonna look like when you first launch it, and you'll have this create new button. Click that, and as you can see, you can copy all the settings here. This is the most basic settings that I use, and it works fine. So it depends upon your artwork too, what kind of settings you want, but 10 by 8 is the normal size that I use most of the times. So hit open and you will be greeted with a new interface from Photoshop, and it's probably not gonna look like this. I have tweaked it how I like my Photoshop to look like. You can add multiple windows or different kind of windows from here. You can go to window and you can choose whatever workspace you like, or you can choose whatever windows you want to add to your software. So that's the basic gist of it. And then we have this layer panels in the right hand corner, and we have these tools here, and the most important one you need to know is the brush tool and the erase tool, and you might probably need the bucket tool as well, and probably the quick selection tool and the lasso tool and the eyedropper tool and the clone tool. Yeah, sorry, I should stop. So now that you know all the tools here, you probably should experiment on what each tool does. That's how I learned it. I didn't really watch a tutorial, honestly. I just experimented with everything, and that's how I came to understand. So before starting off, I would mention don't really draw everything on the background layer. No one does that. If you're an artist, create more layers and see and understand how everything works. So if you want to know how I work with Photoshop, I will make another video about it in future where I will show you in detail how to use Photoshop for drawing. But for today, I think this is enough. If you want to know about my brushes, you can check out my line art video. I'm gonna link it down below right here. So check that out. That's gonna be the most helpful line art video probably for you, and you can learn a lot from that. If you want to learn for Clip Studio, there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube, and most of them are pretty good. So that's all you probably need to know. You just need to experiment more with Photoshop, experiment more with the product you're using, with the program you're using, and you'll probably with time learn more stuff. And like I said before, I will make a video in future, so if you wanna get a notification for that, subscribe to my channel. It's probably gonna be in the upcoming few weeks, probably in a month or so. So there's that. That's the most basic tutorial that I could make about how to get started with digital art. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment your questions. I will read the questions. I will try to answer all of them as soon as I can. So that's it. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.